On the way home, Dad put his arm around my shoulder for support. Baby girl, if your boyfriend ever gets you in your panties and you find yourself in the family way, swear that it was an immaculate conception and start mouthing off about miracles, he said. Then just pass around the collection plate come Sunday. I didn't like Dad when he talked like that, and I tried to move away from him, but he just held me tighter. Back at home, we tried to calm Dad down. Mom gave him one of his presents, a brass cigarette lighter from the 1920s in the shape of a Scottish Terrier. Dad flicked it a couple times, swaying back and forth, then he held it up to the light and studied it. Let's really light up this Christmas, Dad said, and thrust the lighter into the Douglas fir. The dried-out needles caught fire immediately. Flames leaped through the branches with a crackling noise. Christmas ornaments exploded from the heat. For a few moments, we were too stunned to do anything. Mom called for blankets and water. We were able to put the fire out, but only by knocking down the tree, smashing most of the ornaments and ruining all our presents. Dad sat on the sofa the whole time, laughing and telling Mom that he was doing her a favor because trees were pagan symbols of worship. Once the fire was out and the sodden burned tree lay smoldering on the floor, we all just stood there. No one tried to wring Dad's neck or tell him or yell at him or even point out that he ruined the Christmas his family had spent weeks planning, the Christmas that was supposed to be the best we ever had. When Dad went crazy, we all had our own ways of shutting down and closing off, and that's what we did that night. I turned 10 that spring, but birthdays were not a big deal around our house. Sometimes Mom stuck a few candles and some ice cream, we all sang happy birthday. Mom and Dad might get us a little present, a comic book or a pair of shoes or a package of underwear, but as often, they forgot our birthdays altogether. So I was surprised when on the day I turned 10, Dad took me outside to the back patio and asked what I wanted most in the world. It's a special occasion, seeing as how it puts you in double digits, he said. You're growing up damn fast, Mountain Goat. You'll be on your own in no time, and if there's anything I can do for you now before you're gone, I want to do it. I knew Dad wasn't talking about buying me some extravagant present like a pony or a dollhouse. He was asking what he could do, now that I was almost a grown-up, to make my last years as a kid everything I hoped they'd be. There's only one thing I truly wanted, something that I knew would change all our lives, but I was afraid to ask for it. Just thinking about saying the words out loud made me nervous. Dad saw my hesitation. He knelt, so he was looking up at me. What is it? He said. Just ask away. It's big. Just ask, baby. I'm scared. You know if it's humanly possible. I'll get it for you, and if it ain't humanly possible, I'll die trying. I looked up at the thin swirls of clouds high in the blue Arizona sky. Keeping my eyes fastened on those distant clouds, I took a breath and said, do you think maybe you could stop drinking? Dad said nothing. He was staring down at the cement patio, and when he turned to me, his eyes had a wounded look, like a dog who's been kicked. You must be awfully ashamed of your old man, he said. No, I said quickly. It's just that I think Mom would be a lot happier, plus we'd have the extra money. You don't have to explain, Dad said. His voice was barely a whisper. He stood up, walked into the yard, and sat down under the orange trees. I followed and sat down next to him. I was going to take his hand, but before I could reach for it, he said, if you don't mind, honey, I think I'd like to sit here by myself for a while. In the morning, Dad told me that for the next few days he was going to keep himself in his bedroom. He wanted us kids to steer clear of him, to stay outside all day and play. Everything went fine for the first day. On the second day, when I came home from school, I heard a terrible groaning coming from the bedroom. Dad? I called. There was no answer. I opened the door. Dad was tied to the bed with ropes and belts. I don't know if he had done it himself or if Mom helped him, but he was thrashing about, bucking and pulling at the restraint, yelling, no, and stop, and oh my God. His face was gray and dripping with sweat. I called out to him again, but he didn't see or hear me. I went into the kitchen and filled an empty orange jug with water. I sat with the jug next to Dad's door in case he got thirsty. Mom saw me and told me to go outside and play. I told her I wanted to help Dad. She said there was nothing I could do, but I stayed by the door anyway. Dad's delirium continued for days. When I came home from school, I'd get the jug of water, take up my position by the door, and wait there until bedtime. Brian and Maureen played outside, and Lori kept to the far side of the house. Mom painted in her studio. No one talked much about what was going on. One night we were eating dinner, Dad let out a particularly hideous cry. I looked at Mom, who was stirring in her soup as if it were an ordinary evening, and that's when I lost it. Do something, I yelled at her. You're gotta do something to help Dad. Your father's the only one who can help himself. Mom said only he knows how to fight his own demons. After the better part of a week, Dad's delirium stopped. Then he asked us to come talk to him in the bedroom. He was propped up on a pillow.